getting so upset right now. I just got glitched out of the Mr. Beast finger wrap game. I'm just so devastated right now. I just lost the money. I didn't win the $100,000, and I had already spent the $100,000 on a horse and a house, and if only I had saved the self-care list that I found on Pinterest, because then maybe I could cope. Hey guys, it's Zoe here. Okay, obviously the beginning was a joke. Not that I didn't lose to Mr. Beast finger wrap, and I wasn't very devastated about losing, even though I glitched out at 6,000 people in, and I worked really hard and I prepared for like weeks to really hold my finger on that app, and then I just glitched out and lost everything and lost my shot to $100,000, and I was already thinking about how I would spend it, and enough with that. Self-care is very important. Not that we can always solve things by ourselves. Sometimes we need psychiatrists, sometimes we need therapy, sometimes we need medication. But learning about yourself and learning what makes you feel good, what makes you happy, is very important. Now that the legal disclaimer is out of the way, let's talk about self-care and self-care items you can use to cheer yourself up. I have spent probably the last 2 years really focusing on myself and getting in tune with myself and learning about myself, doing a lot of research on coping skills, taking a stress class at my college, and taking a lot of personality tests. And all of that has brought me to really figure out what makes me happy, what cheers me up when I'm down. Before we even get into self-care, the most important thing is knowing yourself, knowing what makes you happy, what cheers you up when you're down. And one way you can do that is through the personality test. If you know me personally, you already know this, but I am a huge believer in the Enneagram. The Enneagram is such an awesome personality test. It's similar to Myers-Briggs, but you get assigned a number. If you're curious, I'm a 2-wing 3. But if you don't know the Enneagram, that's nonsense to you. And you're like, what does that mean? But basically, it helps you learn what your motivations are, what you look like when you're unhealthy, and it helps you know how to talk to other people, how you interact with other people, and maybe even why you don't click with some people. I highly suggest checking it out. I want to do a whole other video about the Enneagram because it's so deep, so I don't want to get too into it right now, but I just wanted to mention it because I think it's a great resource when you're trying to deal with self-care and you're trying to cheer yourself up. Another thing I recommend is see if there's any classes you can take. So I took a stress class last semester, all online because of COVID, and that helped me so much. Maybe it didn't show me completely new techniques, but it reiterated to me old techniques that I learned to re-implement. Alright, so now you know a little more about me, you know a little bit about how I gathered this list, and now I want to get into my list. Everything on my list, I don't do all the time, but I do it quite frequently. I think this list will help you at least try some new things. And if this isn't a new thing, maybe you'll see, oh, someone else enjoys that. Also, I want to mention that all these things I do when I'm actually down or stressed. Sometimes I just do them to do them. It's good to be proactive. Now that I've talked for far too long, I want to get into my list because, these things just make me so happy, and I hope that they can help you be so happy too. Number 1. First on my list is my facial steamer. This is by far one of my favorite things I purchased last year. I actually got it because, if you can tell, I have allergies pretty bad and my nose is very stuffed. So I bought it to help my allergies. I wanted it to unclog my nose. And it does that for the most part, but what it really does is it feels so nice. It's so calming and relaxing, and I put on like just these water sounds that I find on YouTube, and I listen to my relaxing music, and I put my face over the warmth, and it is so relaxing to me. It's one of my favorite things to do. I probably do it twice a week, and if you've never used a facial steamer, they recommend doing it for only like once a week for 5 minutes. I think mine goes, I got it off Amazon for about $25, I think. And it came with these little cat ears, which I just think are cute. Now, if you don't feel like you can afford to buy this, or you don't want to spend the money because you don't know what if you don't even like it, you don't use it, there's a free way to implement this. What you do is, well, what I did before I bought it was I cranked my shower all the way up on hot, and I stood in it and I breathed in the steam. But you might not want to do that. Instead, you can boil hot water and then put your face over the steam and have a mini facial that way. That's another way to do it. Another purchase that I made last year was my Ipsy subscription. Now, I've talked about Ipsy in a video where I opened my first box and I kind of told you guys my review, and I plan to talk about it in another video. Once the year comes around, I want to do a really in-depth review on it. So I'm not going to get deep into this video about Ipsy, but I will say it like this. I'm not telling you to go get Ipsy specifically. For me, that's what I do once a month. I get Ipsy in the mail. It's a nice little gift. But think about what you enjoy. What can you gift yourself at least once a month? Like, spare $5 and get yourself a Starbucks drink once a month. Or if you don't like coffee, get yourself some tea. Figure out what do you like and gift it to yourself. I see Ipsy as this once a month gift to myself, and that's what I love so much about it. And that's what number 2 really is gift something to yourself. Especially, back to personality tests, if your love language is gifts, show yourself love by gifting something to yourself. Okay, let's move on from things that cost money, because if you're a college student like me, you probably don't have a lot of money to spare. So let's get to free stuff. Number 3. This self-care technique is completely free, and it is exercising. Now, if you're anything like me a year ago, you would probably hear exercising and you'd be like, oh no, what are you talking about? I don't like that. Because I never thought a year ago that I would be like, yes, I love exercising. But really, you have no idea how beneficial it is to your body to just do a little bit of exercise once a day. There are so many benefits about exercising. I'm not a scientist. I don't want to go into them in detail and act like I know something I don't, but I do know it releases endorphins, which make you happy. So there's the sciencey part behind it. But I do know after I exercise, I feel happy, so I know that it's working. If you're a skeptic and you're like, oh, exercise doesn't help me, I'm not someone who works out, I don't want to be fit, I'm telling you, just set aside 15 minutes. That's how I started. I told myself it's 15 minutes, that's not a lot of time, and I worked out. So what I do is a lot of squats and lunges, and it's really not exercising that much, but it makes me feel good. So if you don't even want to do that, set aside 15 minutes and walk outside, especially if it's a nice sunny day and being outside in nature, that'll feel amazing. Just try it for 1 week, or even just do it one day. Walk in the morning before you do anything else and see if you're more productive that day, if you feel better afterwards. Just set aside 15 minutes, try it, and see how it goes. Number 4. My 4th item on this list is breathing techniques. So this is one that I had heard about and have implemented a couple different times throughout my life. The biggest one was a few years ago, and I kind of abandoned it because it wasn't doing a lot for me. But for some reason, when I went into my stress class and we went over breathing techniques, it really helped me this time. So now it's on my list because I think they're really helpful. There's so many different types of breathing techniques. My favorite is, I believe it's called 5-7-8, and you breathe in for a set number of counts and you breathe out for a set number of counts, and you hold your breath for a set number of counts. And that one's helpful because you just count and you're focused on your breathing and it relaxes you. For me, I use them if I'm really stressed out because it grounds you, and I use them pretty much every day because I have trouble falling asleep, and that's because my mind is just racing on all the things I want to get done the next day. So I use a breathing technique to actually fall asleep, and it is so helpful. The breathing technique that I probably use the most, other than the 5-7-8, is you breathe in and you think of a phrase, and then you breathe out and you say the phrase again. So it'd be like, well, I guess I can't speak and breathe, but I'd be like, love, and then love, and then I'd breathe out. So that one's just nice because maybe you can do some like self-affirmations, and that can help make you feel like have more self-love, and it can also make you relax. Number 5. So this is my last item on the list, and it's probably one that you would not think of. It's video games. So I know what you're thinking. Video games, how can that be self-care? And isn't that a bad thing if you play video games? Well, it's bad when you're overdoing it. In moderation, video games are fine, and actually they can help you de-stress. One of the things that I learned from my stress class was that you can let yourself enjoy things. If you like to play video games, do it. Don't do it all day, but get your work done, and after a hard days of work or school or whatever it is, put on that video game, enjoy it, let yourself enjoy it. It's not wrong to do it, it's wrong when you become addicted to it. So you have to be careful. If you have an addictive personality, you really need to give yourself time constraints. Some video games I enjoy are Animal Crossing, Stardew Valley, Mario, Minecraft. I love Minecraft because it's on my phone, so I don't have to actually have a console. And I'm working on this big city, and it'll be crazy when it's done, but it's been like 2 years now. But the point of this one really isn't just like play video games. It's let yourself do the things that you enjoy. You don't have to work all day. You don't have to work from sun up to sundown and then go to bed. Let yourself enjoy time. If it's putting on a TV show, put on a TV show when you get home. You can do that, that's fine. But give yourself an hour, 2 hours each day to actually relax, do the thing you enjoy. There are so many self-care items that you can use. Other ones that I didn't mention are supplements. Taking like L-theanine to calm yourself, de-stress are great. There's listening to music, there's painting. I love listening to music and I enjoy that. I love painting, I do that to relax. There's so many things you can do. It really goes back to my main point, which is, who are you? What do you enjoy? What makes you happy? And that is self-care. It's letting yourself do the things that you enjoy and that makes you happy. All these things on my list could apply to you or they could not apply to you, but you're not going to know until you really get to know yourself, and you have to set aside that time to do it. I see those like Tumblr posts, Pinterest posts, and they're like, take a bubble bath, that's self-care. But self-care can be really, especially if you're really down, it can be as simple as making yourself do something you don't want to do. I know that kind of goes against my whole thing about do what makes you happy, but it's also like, if you feel depressed or you feel sad, self-care can be as simple as making yourself do schoolwork and be productive. When you don't have motivation, being productive is self-care because it helps you do the thing that you need to do, especially if it's something that you enjoy. Like, if you are doing work and that's like what you're passionate about, like for me, I have a job that I really enjoy, And if I don't do it, if I feel down on the day and I'm like, "Ugh, I don't have motivation, I don't want to do it," making myself do my work, that is self-care. I'm taking care of myself and I'm telling myself to do the thing I need to do. I don't want to disappoint my boss, I need the money, all that stuff. But also I enjoy it, and that's what I want to work towards as a career. So it is self-care to push yourself to do the things that you need to do too. I so hope that these tips help you feel better, help you feel happy, or at the very least, I hope this entertains you. What are some of the things you do for self-care? Do you relate to any of these? Do you have suggestions? I always love hearing what other people do and trying to see if I can implement them in my own life. So please let me know down in the comments. That's all for this video. Until next time, stay awesome.
Zoe, the